Thank you very much, Rabbi Steckler. And the truth is, I have a lot that I want to say about that introduction, but we'll save that for a little later. Let's start off talking about a song. Rav Sholi and I were talking earlier about the Messiah of songs. There's a song that many shuls and yeshivas for decades sing on Simchas Torah, and you all know it, and that's the song, I know, Avidah Kodesh Avericho, I know, Avda de Kudsha Barichu. I am a servant of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So there are some people that were Kairei Tagar, they complained about this song because they said that it's not right the way we sing the song. I know, Avda de Kudsha Barichu. I am a servant of Hashem. And they even suggested to be moyel behektish and to change the song and to say Ano Avda Ano Avda like that. So I want to share with you some thoughts about a Simchas Beis HaShe'eva and Memela, my reflections on that complaint. Rabbi Steckler was describing the exuberance, the unbelievable joy, the dancing of the chasana of Simchas Beis HaShe'eva. And we know that our Simchas Beis HaShe'eva is only a zikaron, it's a Messiah from the Beis HaMikdash, directly from the Beis HaMikdash, where Klal Yisrael would sing and dance and juggle and just enjoy, everyone in their own way and with their own passion, the unbelievable avodah of the Nisach HaMayim. And what was the Nisach HaMayim? They poured water. They poured water on the Mizbeach. That was the Nisach HaMayim. And the question begs itself, what is so unbelievably powerful about pouring water on the Mizbeach that it triggers this explosion of joy? And the truth is that the whole Simcha of Sukkot really finds its source in the Tshuva of Yom Kippur, which was just a few days ago, that powerful day of Yom Kippur. And I want to point out two things that we all experienced davening on Yom Kippur, and I think if we understood those things, we could understand the Simchas Beis HaShe'eva in a way that could be transformative for us. So number one, the whole year, when we say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay La'olam Va'ed, we say it b'lachash. We say Shema out loud, and then we whisper Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay. We whisper, except on Yom Kippur, of course. On Yom Kippur, we call out B'Koil Gadol Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay, and not only that, by Musaf, by the Avodah, again and again, as we fall and bow in front of Hashem, we call out in a loud voice, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay La'olam Va'ed. And this, Rabbi Isai, is very disturbing, because the Gemara talks about this whisper of Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusay La'olam Va'ed. The Gemara says that the reason that we whisper, the Gemara says an astonishing mashal. The Gemara says it's a mashal to a princess who smells some food from the kitchen. Tzike Kedera, the Gemara calls it. And it's food that she has a huge craving for, a delicacy. But it's not a food that's appropriate to appear on the Shulchan HaMalchus. It's not a dignified food to serve to a princess. But she's going crazy. She must have this food. The servants don't know what to do. To give her the food is to embarrass the Malchus. Not to give her the food is to leave the princess starving. So what do? So the Gemara says they give it to her quietly. They sneak it to her room. Let her enjoy it in private. Not to offend the Malchus, but not to deprive her of that enjoyment. That's why the Gemara says, that's why we whisper, Baruch Shem Kivay Malchusay Li'olam V'ed. What has it got to do with Baruch Shem? So the Nefesh HaChaim explains that when we speak of Kvoid Malchusay, the honor of Hashem's Malchus, the honor of Hashem being the king, the truth of the matter is, it's not that much of a praise. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so infinitely greater than the universe that He created. He's so tremendously beyond comprehension, mightier than the universe that He created, that just praising Him, that He's the king of this universe, is a small praise. The Nefesh HaChaim says it would be the equivalent of praising a king or a president about his country, that you know this king, he's the king of hundreds of thousands of ants and mosquitoes. No king, no president wants to be praised that way. Says the Nefesh HaChaim, we have this struggle. On the one hand, we want to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the greatness of creating this world. On the other hand, we recognize that it's a tiny speck compared to the unimaginable greatness of Hashem. So we whisper, Baruch Shem Kivayid Malchusay Li'olam V'ed. If that's true, so why is it that on the holiest day of the year, when we're in Shul on Yom Kippur, we consider that the appropriate time to call out loud, Baruch Shem Kivayid Malchusay? What happened to the Tzikei Kedera? What happened to the insects? What happened to the mosquitoes? Why are we suddenly unabashed, unashamed to call out, Baruch Shem Kivayid Malchusay? That's the first issue when we're davening on Yom Kippur. But there's a second. I'm sure you noticed it. You know, on every single Shabbos and Yontif, we say once during the day, by Musaf, the very special Kedusha of Ayeh, where we describe that the Malachim come to beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu to understand Misharsav Shayalim Zeh Lo Zeh. The Misharsim, the Malachim ask each other, Ayeh Mekayim Kavaydai, where is Hashem's honor? And then they just say, Baruch Kavayd Hashem Mekayimai. They bless Hashem's honor wherever it is, without explanation, without understanding. We say that this past Yontif, we said it once on the first day of Sukkot, once on the second day of Sukkot. We say it once a day, except Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, we say this Kedusha of Ayeh by Shachris, by Musaf, by Mincha, and then again by Ne'ilah, 4 times during the day. What is so Yom Kippur-dik about Ayeh Mekayim Kavaydai that it belongs to be repeated again and again and again? The answer lies with a comment that Moshe Rabbeinu said. And as Rabbi Steckler pointed out, that tonight we welcome Yosef into the Sukkah. Part of Klal Yisrael welcomes Yosef into the Sukkah. The other part of Klal Yisrael welcomes Moshe into the Sukkah. What ends up happening is that we welcome Yosef and Moshe into the Sukkah. Every Kol Yisrael Ru'in Moshe b'Sukkah Achas. Before I share with you this pasuk about Moshe, I mentioned to Rabbi Steckler earlier another pasuk about Moshe. When I walked into this Heilige Yeshiva, my first time here, I felt like I was hearing the words that Hashem said to Moshe, Ki hamakom asher ata oimed alav admas kodeshi, that you're standing on hallowed ground. The reason for that is because I'm so conscious of the fact that my dear, dear friend, Rabbi Avi Oberlander, made this the final post, his final mission in a lifetime, in a journey of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's just an unbelievable zechus to be here. I'm very, very grateful to Rabbi Steckler, who I'm a long-time admirer of. Very grateful that he asked me to join this special, special Maimed. And I'm grateful to Rabbi Avi Epstein for persistently pursuing that we should get together tonight. I want to tell you, I'm sure that the Olam here appreciates Rabbi Avi very much. His sensitivity, his sweetness, his midas tovos are, I don't have to tell you through the roof, but what I can tell you is that they've been that way at least since the moment he walked into my 10th grade shir room in Heller many, many years ago. And it's a big zchus, and thank you, Avi, for making this happen. So back to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, at the time that Klal Yisrael did this terrible Aveira of the Egel, Moshe Rabbeinu says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Har'eini na es kvodecha, show me your honor, show me your kavod. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu responded to that request. He said, you can't see. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu responded to Moshe Rabbeinu with the tefillah of the Yud Gimel Midos, with v'chanoisi es asher achain, v'richamti es asher arachain. And ask yourself, Moshe Rabbeinu is asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu, show me your honor. Show me the greatness of Malchus Shamayim. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu's response is, you know what my honor is? That when a Yid makes a mistake and tries to find his way back to me, and I take him back, that's my honor. That's kvodecha, that's my honor. Do we understand why that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu's honor? No. Can we comprehend why the HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses this as his greatest honor? Absolutely not. But that's what the Torah tells us, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that had I wanted to give the Torah to people that are perfect, I could have given the Torah to the Malachim. We all know they were begging for it. But I chose to give the Torah to human beings. And human beings make mistakes. And my honor is v'chanoisi es asher achain v'richamti es asher arachin, that I want to bring them closer to me. Reb Tzadok writes somewhere that when he describes the Malachim asking Hashem, Aye Mekayim Kevodai, we say in Kedusha that the Misharsa Shoyalim, that they ask. But Reb Tzadok uses the word Tsoyakim, that they scream. To paraphrase this, the Malachim scream, Aye Mekayim Kevodai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look at this world. How few people even know that you exist. How much confusion and distraction and distress exists in this world. Where is your honor, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Ayein mekayim kevoidai. Where is his honor? Says Reb Tzadok HaKohen Milublin, V'heim einam yoidim, and the Malachim cannot understand that when one Yid struggles with his Yetzer Hara, and ultimately back and forth, and ultimately he's victorious. Ki sham munach kvoidai shel melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's where the honor of Hashem is. You want to know where Hashem's honor is? Hashem's honor is us standing in front of Hashem and saying, I'm struggling, help me take one step closer to you. Sham, that's where Hashem's honor is. And that, I believe, is why again and again and again on Yom Kippur, on that great day of V'richamti es asher arachem, on that great day of taking us back, of wiping away all the distraction and the mechitzas, of clearing away everything that separates us from being in that cheder yichud that Rabbi Steckler mentioned, that intimacy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On that day we repeat it again and again. The Malachim say, Ayei Mekayim Kevoidei. But what do we say? We say, Nimkayim B'hu Yifen B'rachamim. Hashem, turn from that place and have Rachmanis on the nation that says Shema to you. V'yochain am ham yachadim Shemai. Yes, perhaps during the year, we look at things in a more surface way, and it would seem that blessing Hashem, that He's the King of this imperfect, limited world, is something that we should do quietly. But on Yom Kippur, when we understand that the kavod of Hashem, the greatest honor to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hareini na'es kavaydecha, the greatest honor that Hashem Himself says is His bringing Klal Yisrael close to Him, is His belief in the struggling Yid, is His acceptance of the person who made a mistake. Then we call out in a loud voice, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchusai, because you want to know where the honor of Hashem is? Right here in this room. Every single person that stood in front of Hashem and said, Hashem, help me become one step better. And that brings us to the joy of the Simchas Beis HaShayeva. We know that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu separated the upper waters and the lower waters, the upper waters were closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachal. And the lower waters were thrown down into this dark, confusing world. Chazal tell us that the lower waters pleaded to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Anan be'inon lemihave kamei malka. We too want to be in front of the king. We don't want to be in this cold, dark, distant place. We also want to be in front of the king. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised the Mayim Tachtainim. Hashem promised the lower waters that Yidden will use the lower waters to pour onto the Mizbeach on Sukkot. They'll be Kamei Malka. And listen to the message of that. The message is, you know what my kavod is? When those that are distant come closer. When those that are struggling fight through the challenge. When those that feel that they've made mistakes don't give up and keep trying again. That's my honor. So dafka, the lower waters, the distant waters, the waters in the far reaches, in all the way down below, those are the waters that Klal Yisrael, to celebrate Hashem taking us back, we pour that water on the Mizbeach. So we're here tonight to sing and to dance, to celebrate the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Do you know what the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is? We are. We're the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because we're here, fighting the good fight, one step after the other, climbing the ladder of Avodas Hashem. And sometimes we slip down a few rungs, and we ask Hashem to do tshuva, and He accepts our tshuva, and we climb again. And we spend a lifetime climbing rung after rung. And any person, I know that it applies to me, but any person that goes through his life, going through the ups and the downs, the challenges and the accomplishments, the exhilaration and the disappointment, and he says, I'm still here. I'm still putting one foot in front of the next. I'm still doing tshuva on Yom Kippur and starting over again. I'm still devoting myself to taking that one step closer to Hashem. If your life looks that way, then you are Kvaydai Shel Melech Malchei Amlachim. You are the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Which brings me back to our song. What better song is there to sing than Anah, Avda Dekut Shebarichu? You know who's a servant of Hashem? Not the perfect malachim. Hashem wasn't interested in them. Not the perfectionists. That's not the Eved Hashem. Ana. Of course we say Ana, me. It's all about me. Not in a gaiva way. Not in a bizayin way. But in a way that I recognize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created this world. And when I take one step closer to Him, I'm the one that's bringing Him His kavod. So let's try this again, Rabbi say. Let's do it the right way. Ano,